Welcome to another segment of Budget in Focus. I'm your host for this segment, Paul McCallum. With me is Minister of Citizenship, the Honorable Winston Felix. Welcome to the program, sir.
And thank you for having me, Paul.
Today we're looking at the budget, and can I get your reaction to the budget with regards to your Department of Citizenship?
Well, I thought that the budget generally is well thought out. It has provided for exactly the needs of the Department of Citizenship. We had announced earlier from the inception when we arrived in office that we had a program designed to ensure that every child is registered and that we want to produce a system of birth registration in which we all have a unique number from birth to the grave. That intention is firmly settled. We're working on it with local skills as well as best practices from overseas. We have a number of phases to go through, and I think in the new year some of those phases will click in. We had also announced phases of activities with respect to altering the travails to get a birth certificate and a passport. We have commenced the digitization process at the General
Register's office?
Yes, the General Register's office. We've had that going. We have about 80 persons on 2 shifts converting handwritten records into digital images.
So paper to electronic records.
Right. We have given that process a period of 2 years, starting from this year, and we hope that by the time that process concludes, that we would be in a better position to link up with the one, we provide a printed passport, a printed birth certificate, yes. And as we do that, the other elements of the unique number ought to be ready for introduction.
Okay. Now I'm thinking if you have a unique number, this will also tie in with maybe GRA.
Well, it will tie in with GRA, it will tie in with GCOM, it intends to tie in with National Insurance Scheme, and the overseas agencies we're talking to would want to have stakeholder discussions and input into the system. So all these things will, I hope, will come up sometime in the new year.
Okay. How, compared to last year, you had some programs that you announced in terms of making sure that all the functions were not based in Georgetown, say for example the passport office.
Well, I'm coming to that. Like I said, that was one part. I've discussed with you the first part, which was birth certificates. And now we have the passport systems. The first thing we did when we came into office was to improve efficiency of the passport office, which resulted, and many citizens can attest to the fact that interventions we made into the passport system, when we came into office, there were long lines, and several newspapers carried letters of persons protesting the conditions at the passport office in Camp Street, the conditions there and the lines running along Bark Street. In an attempt to improve efficiency, we acquired equipment, and we deployed more manpower into the process of preparing a passport application. The result is that you can leave here now, walk to the passport office, tender your application, have it processed, and be out of there before 4 o'clock. That is it as we sit here now. No one waits more than an hour, and that is the outside limit at the passport office. It is as a result of improving on efficiency that we are at that state. But that is just phase one. The second phase will now be implemented. And I think, other things being equal, on Saturday I should be turning the SAD in New Amsterdam. The site at which the New Amsterdam Immigration and Passport Office will be sited at Fort Lands Ordnance, which is opposite the entrance, the street opposite the entrance to the New Amsterdam Hospital. You go west of the hospital. On the southern side of the road, there's a plot of land there for which a contractor has been engaged through the procurement system to construct that building. And I am almost sure that shortly behind that, coming shortly behind that, would be the Linden building. Should be nearing completion in the procurement process, and I would want to do a similar act in Linden as I would be doing shortly in New Amsterdam.
A site has been selected in Linden already?
Already at Retrieve. Okay. All that has to happen now is for the contractor to be mobilized and get the work started. And I hope, other things being equal, no untoward intervention, that we should have the buildings completed anytime around, either a little before mid-year or a little after mid-year. Okay. And we have already mobilized for the equipment that should come from overseas.
This is the cameras, your fingerprint scanners and so on?
Everything. We are about to pay the supplier, and that should take the same amount of time to be completed and arrive in Guyana if I'm to judge what happened in a previous experience.
Okay. So have there been any challenges last year coming ahead and what you're looking to?
Yeah, there were some challenges. You know, in every plan, it is always necessary to review. Planning and review go hand in hand. And we did have to undergo a period of review. We did that review successfully, which has brought us to the point now where the contractors have been secured under the existing procurement system. Okay.
In terms of staffing capacity, are you happy with the amount of staff?
Well, yeah, certain things that would happen concurrently. That being, while we're constructing, we'll be identifying additional staff, because you definitely would need more people, and you would need them to be trained. You will need them to serve a period of apprenticeship. So they will necessarily have to be a mixture of experienced and inexperienced staff. So that part will go on early in the new year.
Now, in terms of your current staff, have you been doing additional training to get them up to speed yet? And you mentioned best practices internationally, the international standards basically. Have you been sending people overseas, or do you have people come in and train your current staff to get?
Well, the immigration staff has been exposed to at least 2 sets of training for this year, and we think that would continue. The equipment that is coming, the new staff would have to be trained on it, and that would have to continue. Now, in all of that comes the period in this year, when we had to evacuate 56 persons from the hurricane-stricken islands of St. Martin, the British Virgin Islands, Dominica, and some other areas. We have these persons here, and in trying to get them to resettle in the land of their birth. Children of school age have been settled into schools, and the adults are making their skills known with a view to employment, and some are seeking private commercial engagements, you know, their own entrepreneurship. Yes. So whatever assistance we can give, we are making it available. And then comes, on all of that, we are to take over the remigration system. We had staff interacting with those who are assigned to it in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Okay.
So they're pretty solely under the Ministry of
Citizenship. Well, as a result of all of that, more space would be required, and we would be housed in the Stephen Campbell building, which is the former Bitford House at the corner of Charlotte and Steve Chandripal Drive. Right now, some work is going on. Interior reconfiguration is taking place to ensure that our work would be properly accommodated in the space that is available for all the departments, the immigration section, remigration section, the admin section, and my office. We ensure that sufficient space is available to accommodate. We have already gone through that, and we have identified who's to go where already. It is just for the builder to, those who occupied it to remove, the builder completes, and we move in.
I'm saying, no, this is an expansion of your portfolio, basically, with the additional responsibilities your office is going to be taking up.
Well, I expect it to be expanding, and once areas are identified, because, you know, the Citizenship Department is a new department, and just as remigration has been identified for citizenship, in time other areas would be identified for citizenship to take over. We have to be organized, we have to understand the current demands of the office and organize ourselves to deliver results.
Now, we have a fair amount of immigrants from other countries coming to Guyana, say Brazil, Venezuela. Have you had any major challenges in dealing with those?
Look, Guyana is a welcoming country. There are no, for me, there are no major challenges. We have noise being made about, at one time, there was a noise about Brazilians. You don't hear those noise now. Then another time there was a noise about the Chinese.
Then we had the Haitians recently.
Now, the Haitians is a problem. And above all of them, I know that the Haitians have been traversing this country since the 1980s. I've been a police officer in charge of the airport security in 1981, no, 82, 83. I encountered Haitians flying in BB in those days, traveling by Antillean Airlines, which is the Dutch airlines. They come to Timeri, sometimes in excess of 20 of them overnighting Tuesday nights to catch the Wednesday flight going, or Wednesday night to Thursday. This is nothing new for me. Those who are making noise about the Haitians are now seeing Haitians. I've been seeing Haitians since the 1980s. So the Haitians are not a problem for us. What has happened recently, and which I can tell you about, is that towards the end of July, groups of Haitians passed through this country, and they were properly prepared because they came with children.
And documentation.
And the documentation, however, the documentation was in French. And that is why we held them, because we don't know what the document said. We got it translated, and we released them.
Okay.
Then, a couple of weeks ago, Suriname sent back some Haitians, and we let them go. They've gone back from whence they came. So, look, once...
It's kind of cyclical.
Exactly. Once you have visitors, you'll have problems. You'll have problems with overstaying. We have problems with falsification of documents. We have problems with documents in short supply. In other words, the requirements are not being met. But these are normal issues in any immigration department. You go to Trinidad, Barbados, you find the same problem. So I won't make a big noise of it. All I'm saying is that given the challenges, we are dealing with it in an efficient and competent manner.
All right, now projecting into next year, so 2018, we spoke about the new buildings to come on stream. Are there any other projects you're looking at?
Well, Region 2 and Region 7, here we come. After Linden and New Amsterdam roll off, I will be making every effort to identify locations in Region 7, Bartico, Region 2, and if possible, let's see what would happen in Region 8 at Madia, since Madia is to become a town.
So you're really looking at diversifying and spreading?
You see, the important issue here is that if you allow the service to be concentrated in Georgetown, you will have unnecessary buildup of crowds.
You don't need a bottleneck.
We don't need that.
Right.
What we need now are several avenues through which the services can be accessed and people can feel comfortable doing business with the immigration department without unnecessarily having to line up for hours. I did not tell you this in my initial presentation, but on the cards, if I have the support of the Minister of Finance, is that we eventually will bring online applications, which again remove the necessity for people to
physically come into an office
and spend hours. You may have to go into office because you have to collect the passport and you have to do certain verifications. Mm-hmm. But granted that we have the facility, then there would be more than one avenues from which you can access the passport service.
Okay.
Right? And that is the idea. If you can walk in, you can walk in. If you can sit at a internet cafe and make your application, submit your application, so be it. If you can stay home on a laptop and apply for a passport, so be it. The important thing is, according to what President Granger says, is that we must take public services to the people. Rather than having the people come to the service, we must take it to them. So you just step out of their homes and the service is there. And that is what we're attempting to do with the immigration service. Too many people have to travel from quarantine, from Maburuma, from Bartica to come to Georgetown for one single document. That is unnecessary, it's burdensome, time consuming, and the bottlenecks are absolutely unnecessary.
No, you had several outreaches to these regions and so on. What's been a response from them? When you,
well,
when you
the outreaches we have had is are all in relation to board certificates. We have a high rate. Now let me start from this point. The convention, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child require a child to have a name and a nationality. To have a name and a nationality, the most important document in your life is your board certificate. Trust me on this. Your board certificate would say, I was born in this holy land. And that goes with you to your death. You go and you get any other nationality. You get an American passport, it has where were you born.
Right. And that birth certificate is necessary for that.
Yeah, but on the passport, they will say in this holy land. They will not say born in America because you weren't born there. Right? So our efforts at the Department of Citizenship is to ensure that we move towards a situation where every child is registered.
Okay.
Then we will move to the other phase, because many children have been registered at board, but they don't get the board certificate. So we have to now move to another phase where you register and you collect the board certificate. I think a lot of education in this regard is needed for young mothers, even on the coastline, in the riverine areas, in the hinterland areas. Many mothers need to be educated on their responsibility to ensure that a child, once registered, and must be registered,
has that certificate,
and must have a board certificate issued to that child.
All right, well, this is where we'll wrap up, Minister. I want to thank you for spending some time with us on the program and sharing some knowledge. Good luck in your budget debates. You've been watching Budget in Focus. With me is Minister of Citizenship, the Honorable Winston Felix. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.